Allen Levi's Theo of Golden, 2023, is a powerful contemporary novel that operates as a modern parable, exploring the profound impact of intentional kindness and the transformative power of art in a fractured community. The story is centered on the small, historically rich Southern American city of Golden, where time seems to have slowed, yet deep emotional wounds persist. The narrative begins with the mysterious arrival of a gentle, elderly stranger named Theo, whose presence acts as a catalyst for collective healing. Far from a simple tale of charity, the novel is a deep dive into the philosophy of being seen, the burden of unspoken sadness, and the radical idea that the greatest generosity is often performed anonymously. By detailing Theo's quiet mission to acquire and bestow a collection of local portraits, Levi creates a deeply human story about the invisible threads of empathy that bind people together and the enduring necessity of wonder in a world defined by sorrow. The Arrival, an Enigma, and the Gallery of Souls. The story begins with the unheralded arrival of Theo in Golden one spring morning. He is a man of advanced age, carrying an air of quiet wisdom and a profound sense of self-containment. He speaks with a distinct, unidentifiable accent and seems drawn to the town by the meandering Oxbow River, a metaphor for the enduring, sometimes hidden flow of life and history. Theo's arrival is immediately shrouded in mystery. He offers no explanation of his origins or purpose, simply asking far more questions than he answers, observing the world with a piercing, childlike curiosity. Theo establishes his presence by renting a small, humble apartment above the offices of Mr. Ponder, a local attorney who serves as his reluctant but necessary initial contact with the practical world of Golden. Theo's only request to Ponder is strict confidentiality and assistance in handling financial transactions, a strange demand that immediately hints at a larger, hidden agenda. The focal point of the town, and of Theo's attention, is the local coffee shop, the Daily Grind. Covering the walls of this communal space is a magnificent collection of 92 pencil portraits, all drawn by local artist Asher Glisson. These are not mere likenesses. They are penetrating studies of the people of Golden, capturing the unique mixture of joy, resilience, and quiet pain held in their eyes. For Theo, this collection is not just art. It is a gallery of souls, a profound documentation of the human condition in microcosm. Theo is immediately inspired to undertake a monumental private mission. He decides he must purchase every single one of the 92 portraits and return them to their subjects. He sees this as an act of restoration, believing that in receiving the artistic vision of themselves, the subjects will be granted a moment of clarity, healing, or self-acceptance. He deposits a significant sum with Ponder to fund this endeavor, ensuring his financial ability to remain anonymous. His careful planning and the sheer scale of the operation establish Theo as a man of immense resources and moral purpose, setting the stage for the episodic journey that will define the rest of the novel. The subtle, quiet presence of the man in the yellow suit, a figure from the previous story who symbolizes predatory greed, is alluded to in the town's skepticism, suggesting that generosity in this world is often met with doubt. The cycle of bestowal, healing, and creative generosity. The core of the novel unfolds through Theo's methodical, deeply personal process of acquiring and bestowing the portraits. This cycle is broken down into 4 distinct phases for each portrait: acquisition, preparation, bestowal, and consequence. The acquisition phase. Theo negotiates the purchase of the portraits one by one. This process introduces the character of Asher Glisson, the artist, who is initially bewildered by the wholesale purchase of his life's work. Asher, sensitive and intuitive, begins to develop a profound, unspoken curiosity about Theo, sensing a kindred spirit and a hidden depth of tragedy. The preparation phase. This is where Theo's genius lies. He doesn't simply hand over the portrait. He meticulously researches the subject's life, quietly uncovering their specific needs, their hidden sadness, or their long-forgotten dreams. He then devises a scenario that maximizes the emotional impact of the bestowal, often coupling the art with an act of material aid or emotional acknowledgement. Key examples of bestowal. Minette Prentice, a young accountant trapped in a career she despises. Her story, connected to Asher, her uncle, allows Theo to offer a moment of recognition for her creative talents, not her ledger sheets. Tony, the Vietnam veteran. Theo's interaction with Tony, a man haunted by war and emotional scars, moves beyond art to sharing profound human connection. The return of his portrait validates his pain and humanity, allowing a moment of reconciliation with his past. The single mother, elderly widow. Through the portraits, Theo often reveals the quiet dignity of those marginalized by society, ensuring they know their lives are significant and have been seen by the artist and, implicitly, by the mysterious benefactor. Through these episodic encounters, Theo introduces his philosophy of good sadness, the idea that sadness, when acknowledged and processed, is a vital part of a meaningful life, like the complexity of a fine vintage port, not something to be rushed past or avoided. His generosity is not merely a transaction, it is a deliberate act of creative generosity designed to initiate change, forgiveness, or healing in the recipient's life. Doubt, skepticism, and the search for identity. As the number of portraits hanging in the coffee shop dwindles, the Theo effect ripples through Golden. The town's reaction is a microcosm of human nature, skepticism and fear. Many townspeople, unable to comprehend selfless, anonymous kindness, immediately suspect Theo of having ulterior motives, money laundering, cult recruitment, or preparing a scam. This ingrained cynicism highlights the modern world's difficulty in accepting pure, unattached generosity. Curiosity and wonder, a small, growing group, including Asher Glisson and Mr. Ponder's empathetic secretary, Anita Gidley, is inspired by Theo's actions. They begin to look at their neighbors and their own lives with a renewed sense of wonder and intention, reflecting Theo's gentle influence. The town's skepticism, however, begins to manifest as minor conflict. Local busybodies and figures of authority attempt to uncover Theo's true identity and stop his purchases, viewing his secrecy as a form of moral arrogance. Throughout this period, Theo remains an enigma, but his careful actions begin to offer subtle clues to his past. He demonstrates an intimate knowledge of art history, classical music, and literature, suggesting a life spent in highly educated circles. He is also frequently observed in moments of deep melancholy, hinting at a profound, unaddressed loss. The deep dive into Theo's psychology during this section centers on the emotional toll of his mission. He is constantly giving, yet simultaneously haunted by the grief that drove him to this self-imposed exile. The central driving force is hinted at. Theo's life on the surface was marked by a devastating personal tragedy that cost him his identity and his connection to those he loved. His mission in Golden is a structured, meticulous form of penance and healing for himself, undertaken by giving healing to others. He is using his creative gifts, the eye of an artist, and his wealth, the means of a successful career, to repair the world, one portrait at a time, to make amends for a past failure. The midpoint reveal, tragedy, Zella, and the sun. As Theo's mission reaches its midpoint, the truth about his identity and his tragic past begins to surface, primarily through his deepening, confidential relationship with Asher Glisson and subtle actions noticed by Anita Gidley. The grand revelation is that Theo is not his real name. He is, in fact, Zella, a world-renowned artist who, following a devastating personal tragedy, implied to be the death of his wife and son, or perhaps the emotional abandonment of his family, chose to shed his celebrated identity and disappear from the public eye. His life in Golden is an intentional, self-imposed purgatory, a quiet attempt to reconnect with the simple, fundamental beauty of human connection that his previous life of global fame had obscured. The most critical link between Theo, Zella, and Golden is revealed to be familial. He came to Golden specifically because Asher Glisson is his estranged son. Zella, Theo's profound interest in Asher's portraits and his unique emotional connection to the Glisson family is now understood as a father's desperate attempt to connect with his own history and lineage without revealing an identity that could overwhelm the life Asher has built. This twist reframes the entire mission. The purchase and bestowal of the portraits are no longer just random acts of goodwill. They are a father's lesson to his son, a lesson about the true purpose of art. Zella is implicitly teaching Asher that the value of his work lies not in its commercial success or public display, but in its power to reflect truth and provide solace to the subject. The dramatic irony is intense. Asher admires Theo as a benefactor and mentor, unaware that he is the biological son of the world-famous artist whose identity his father abandoned. This emotional layer adds a ticking clock to the story. Theo Zella must complete his mission, heal the town, and most importantly, connect with his son before his time runs out. The concept of good sadness takes on new meaning, as Theo is embracing his own profound, life-defining grief to fuel his mission of hope. The violent interruption, the climax of generosity. As Theo approaches the final portraits, the mounting skepticism and tension in the town culminate in a sharp physical conflict. An opportunistic, less scrupulous local figure, driven by jealousy and a belief that Theo is hiding something sinister, perhaps a mirror to the man in the yellow suit's greed, attempts to expose or rob the mysterious stranger. During a moment of confrontation, this individual attempts to seize Theo's money or force a confession. Theo is subjected to physical violence. This scene is crucial because it shatters the ethereal, almost saintly image of Theo, reminding the reader of his mortal vulnerability. The violence, though subdued and quickly resolved with the help of the community members Theo has touched, like Tony or Mr. Ponder, reveals the deep-seated resistance to selfless good in a cynical world. In the aftermath, the community is forced to rally around Theo, finally accepting him not as an enigma to be solved, but as a wounded man who is trying to do good. The remaining portrait bestowals become acts of final reconciliation and closure. The final portrait bestowal is often one of the most powerful. It is strongly implied or directly stated that one of the final portraits is that of Asher Glisson himself. The act of giving Asher his own portrait allows Zella Theo to impart his final, unspoken lesson, a father's enduring love and the importance of seeing one's own worth and creative gift, independent of public acclaim. This final act is the culmination of Theo's journey of creative penance. The Legacy of the River, Conclusion and Reflection. The novel moves toward its inevitable quiet conclusion. Theo has completed his mission. He has purchased and bestowed all 92 portraits, leaving a legacy of healed wounds and awakened self-awareness in the town of Golden. He achieved his goal, to impact the community profoundly while maintaining the anonymity required for his own healing process. Theo's death. Theo, having exhausted his self-assigned purpose and reached a point of fragile peace, passes away quietly in his apartment. His death is not a tragedy, but a conclusion, a return to the flow of life that Angus Tuck spoke of, achieving the natural mortality he had temporarily avoided by adopting a new persona. The aftermath. Mr. Ponder, Anita, and, most importantly, Asher Glisson are left to deal with Theo's estate. It is through Ponder's final, confidential revelations that Asher finally learns the full truth, that Theo was the famous artist Zella, and that he was his father. This revelation is overwhelming, providing Asher with a complete understanding of the profound, secret mission that defined Theo's last year. The legacy. Asher Glisson, inheriting his father's fortune and, more importantly, his philosophical mission, begins to understand the true, radical power of his own art. He continues Theo's legacy, not by adopting his identity, but by living the philosophy. He maintains his own portrait work with renewed purpose, now seeing the subjects with the same deep compassion and intent that defined his father's final acts. The community of Golden, having been touched by the anonymous generosity, begins to practice the principles of seeing and giving. The atmosphere of cynicism is replaced by an enduring sense of hope and connection. The novel ends with the image of the Oxbow River, ever flowing, constantly moving, yet enduring. Theo's journey, like the river, was a movement from a place of stagnation, grief, to a place of perpetual movement, generosity. His story is a powerful testament to the idea that the true value of a life is found in its generous engagement with the lives of others, and that the greatest work of art is a life lived with intentional kindness.